Every morning, millions of people wake up with the same goal: start the day with a healthy breakfast. Maybe it's a quick pastry with coffee, a bowl of cereal, or a glass of orange juice before rushing out the door. It feels normal. It feels harmless. But what if the very breakfast habits many people trust are quietly working against their health? Doctors and nutrition researchers are increasingly discovering that the first meal of the day has a powerful effect on how the body functions for the next 12 to 16 hours. It influences blood sugar stability, energy levels, brain clarity, appetite control, and even long-term risks for conditions like heart disease, diabetes, and muscle loss. And this becomes especially important after the age of 60. As we grow older, the body becomes more sensitive to blood sugar spikes, less efficient at maintaining muscle mass, and more vulnerable to inflammation and metabolic imbalance. This means that certain breakfast choices that once seemed harmless can now trigger fatigue, cravings, weight gain, and even gradual health decline. The surprising part is that many of the most damaging breakfast habits are incredibly common. Some are even promoted as convenient or healthy options. Today, we're going to uncover 4 breakfast mistakes that silently sabotage your health, especially as you age. By understanding these mistakes and learning what to do instead, you can dramatically improve your energy, protect your metabolism, and give your body the nutrition it truly needs to stay strong and independent. And make sure you stay until the end, because the number one breakfast mistake is the one that most adults over 60 make every single day without realizing it. Breakfast mistake number 4: starting the day with sugary breakfast foods. One of the most common breakfast mistakes people make is starting the morning with foods that are extremely high in added sugar. These foods may taste comforting and satisfying in the moment, but inside the body, they can trigger a chain reaction that leaves you tired, hungry, and metabolically stressed for the rest of the day. Common examples include pastries, donuts, muffins, sweet croissants, sugary breakfast cereals, cakes, cookies, and many of the baked goods typically found in coffee shops. Even foods that appear harmless, like flavored cereals or packaged breakfast bars, can contain surprisingly high amounts of refined sugar and processed ingredients. At first glance, these foods seem like quick sources of energy, and technically they are. But the way the body processes them creates a major problem. When you eat a breakfast that is loaded with refined sugar and white flour, those carbohydrates are rapidly broken down and released into the bloodstream as glucose. This causes blood sugar levels to rise very quickly. In response, the pancreas releases a large amount of insulin to bring those levels back down. The result is a dramatic blood sugar spike followed by an equally dramatic crash. That crash is what causes many people to feel sluggish, foggy, irritable, or hungry again just a couple of hours after eating. It's also the reason why someone who eats a sugary breakfast often starts craving snacks or more sugar before lunchtime. Over time, this repeated cycle of spikes and crashes places significant stress on the body's metabolic system. Numerous studies have linked high intake of added sugars with increased risks of obesity, insulin resistance, and type 2 diabetes. Frequent blood sugar surges can also contribute to chronic inflammation and cardiovascular disease. For adults over 60, this issue becomes even more important. As we age, the body naturally becomes less efficient at regulating blood sugar. Muscle mass tends to decline, and insulin sensitivity often decreases. This means that the same sugary breakfast that seemed harmless decades ago can now create a much stronger metabolic disruption. Another hidden issue with sugary breakfast foods is that they are usually highly processed and made with refined ingredients such as white flour, processed oils, and added fats like butter or shortening. These foods are often calorie-dense but nutritionally poor, meaning they provide energy without delivering the vitamins, minerals, fiber, and antioxidants the body actually needs. In other words, they fill the stomach without truly nourishing the body. If breakfast regularly looks more like dessert than a balanced meal, it may be setting the stage for unstable energy, increased hunger, and long-term metabolic problems. The good news is that avoiding this mistake is simple. By reducing refined sugar in the first meal of the day and choosing foods that provide steady energy and real nutrition, you can help your body maintain stable blood sugar, better focus, and lasting energy throughout the morning. Breakfast mistake number 3, eating highly processed or fried foods. Another common breakfast mistake is choosing foods that are highly processed, oily, or deep fried. These foods are extremely common in modern breakfast culture, yet they are among the worst ways to start the day, especially for adults over 60. Typical examples include donuts, cinnamon rolls, fried pastries, packaged breakfast cakes, fast food breakfast sandwiches, and other baked goods made with refined oils and heavily processed ingredients. Many of these foods overlap with sugary breakfast items, but the problem goes deeper than just sugar. The real issue often lies in the type of fats and oils used to make them. Highly processed foods are frequently prepared using refined vegetable oils that have been heated to very high temperatures. In commercial kitchens and deep fryers, these oils are often reheated repeatedly throughout the day. Each time this happens, the chemical structure of the oil begins to break down. When oils are exposed to excessive heat over and over again, they can form harmful compounds known as trans fats and oxidized fats. These altered fats behave very differently inside the body compared to natural, unprocessed fats. Research has consistently shown that trans fats are strongly linked to increased risk of cardiovascular disease. They contribute to inflammation inside blood vessels and promote the buildup of fatty plaque within the arteries. Over time, this can increase the likelihood of heart attacks and strokes. Because of these risks, many health organizations have pushed for the removal of artificial trans fats from food products. However, small amounts can still appear in certain fried and processed foods, especially when oils are repeatedly heated. Another problem with these types of breakfast foods is their extreme calorie density combined with very low nutritional value. They often contain refined flour, processed oils, added sugars, artificial flavorings, or preservatives. What they usually lack are the nutrients the body truly needs to function properly. Things like fiber, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and healthy fats. This is why these foods are often described as providing empty calories. They deliver a large amount of energy, but almost no meaningful nourishment. Starting the day with empty calories can create a nutritional imbalance that lasts for the entire day. Your body may receive hundreds of calories in the morning, but still remain deficient in the nutrients needed to support your brain, muscles, immune system, and metabolism. For older adults, this becomes even more significant. As the body ages, it requires more nutrient density, not more empty calories. Nutrients like magnesium, calcium, vitamin D, fiber, and healthy fats become increasingly important for maintaining bone health, muscle strength, heart function, and cognitive performance. When breakfast is dominated by heavily processed or fried foods, the body misses an important opportunity to receive those essential nutrients early in the day. While these foods may taste indulgent and satisfying in the moment, they often provide only short-term pleasure followed by long-term consequences for metabolic health and cardiovascular function. Choosing simpler, less processed foods, especially those closer to their natural form, can make a powerful difference in how your body feels and performs throughout the day. Breakfast mistake number 2, not eating whole, real foods. The second major breakfast mistake is surprisingly simple, yet extremely common: not eating whole, real foods in the morning. Many modern breakfasts are built almost entirely from processed products. Packaged cereals, pastries, refined breads, flavored yogurts, or convenience foods may provide calories, but they often lack the essential nutrients the body needs to function properly. Whole foods are foods that remain close to their natural state. These include fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, seeds, legumes, eggs, dairy products like yogurt, and natural healthy oils such as olive oil. These foods provide a wide spectrum of nutrients that support every system in the body. Think of your daily meals as three opportunities to nourish your body. Breakfast is the first chance to deliver vitamins, minerals, fiber, protein, and healthy fats that your body will rely on throughout the day. But when breakfast consists mainly of processed foods, that opportunity is lost. For example, whole foods naturally contain dietary fiber, which plays a critical role in digestive health and blood sugar regulation. Fiber slows the absorption of sugar into the bloodstream, helping prevent sudden spikes in blood glucose and the energy crashes that often follow a highly processed meal. Whole foods also provide antioxidants and plant compounds that help reduce inflammation and support heart health, brain function, and immune protection. These nutrients are difficult, or sometimes impossible, to replicate in highly processed foods. When breakfast lacks these whole foods, the body may receive calories but still remain nutritionally underfed. Over time, this pattern can lead to deficiencies that affect energy levels, immune function, bone health, and muscle strength. There is one common breakfast item that often creates confusion in this discussion: fruit juice. Juice can seem healthy because it comes from fruit and may contain vitamins such as vitamin C or antioxidants. In many Mediterranean regions, freshly squeezed juice is even a traditional part of breakfast. However, there is an important difference between whole fruit and fruit juice. Whole fruit contains fiber, which slows digestion and stabilizes blood sugar. Juice removes most of that fiber, leaving behind the natural sugars in a concentrated form. Without the fiber to slow absorption, those sugars enter the bloodstream much more quickly. This can produce the same type of blood sugar spike and crash that occurs with sugary foods. Over time, frequent blood sugar spikes can contribute to insulin resistance, which is one of the major drivers of type 2 diabetes and metabolic disorders. This does not mean juice must be completely avoided. In moderation, and especially when freshly prepared, it can still provide some nutritional benefits. But it is best consumed in smaller amounts and not relied upon as a primary source of nutrition. A better approach is to focus on whole fruits and vegetables, which allow the body to absorb nutrients gradually while maintaining stable blood sugar levels. When breakfast includes real, whole foods, foods that look similar to how they appeared in nature, you provide your body with the nutrients it needs to support energy, metabolism, and long-term health. And that leads us to the most important breakfast mistake of all. Breakfast mistake number 1: skipping protein in the morning. The number one breakfast mistake, and one of the most damaging for long-term health, is not eating enough protein in the morning. Many typical breakfasts are built almost entirely around carbohydrates: toast, cereal, pastries, fruit juice, or sweet-baked goods. While these foods may provide quick energy, they often lack one critical nutrient your body desperately needs to function properly: protein. Protein is one of the three essential macronutrients, alongside carbohydrates and fats. But unlike simple carbohydrates that provide only quick fuel, protein plays a far deeper role in maintaining and repairing the body. Every cell in your body relies on protein. It is required for building and maintaining muscles, repairing tissues, supporting immune function, producing enzymes and hormones, and maintaining the structure of skin, bones, and organs. Without enough protein, the body struggles to maintain its strength and resilience. This becomes especially important as we grow older. After the age of 50, the body naturally begins to lose muscle mass in a process known as sarcopenia, or age-related muscle loss. This gradual decline in muscle strength can contribute to reduced mobility, balance problems, and a higher risk of falls and fractures later in life. Research has shown that inadequate protein intake in older adults is strongly associated with increased frailty, slower recovery from injuries, and even declines in cognitive function. Starting the day with a protein-rich breakfast helps counteract this process. Protein slows digestion and stabilizes blood sugar levels. When you eat protein along with other nutrients in the morning, your body absorbs energy more gradually. This helps prevent the rapid blood sugar spikes and crashes that often occur after carbohydrate-heavy breakfasts. As a result, People who eat protein in the morning often experience more stable energy, better focus, and fewer cravings throughout the day. Protein also helps regulate appetite by increasing feelings of fullness. This means you're less likely to reach for unhealthy snacks or overeat later in the day. In contrast, a breakfast that contains mostly refined carbohydrates, but very little protein often leads to hunger returning much sooner. Many people find themselves feeling hungry again just a couple of hours after eating. Fortunately, incorporating protein into breakfast does not have to be complicated. There are many simple and nutritious options that can easily become part of a balanced morning meal. Examples of healthy breakfast proteins include foods such as eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, nuts and seeds, beans, and even fish in certain traditional diets. Whole grains and dairy products can also contribute smaller amounts of protein when combined with other foods. By including a source of protein in your breakfast, you give your body the building blocks it needs to maintain muscle strength, regulate metabolism, and support overall health as you age. And once you understand these 4 breakfast mistakes, the next step becomes clear: building a morning meal that supports your body instead of working against it. Part 2. How to build a healthy breakfast. Now that we've uncovered the 4 breakfast mistakes that can quietly damage your health, the good news is that fixing them is surprisingly simple. In fact, building a healthy breakfast doesn't require complicated recipes or expensive ingredients. The key is simply to reverse the mistakes we just discussed and replace them with foods that support stable energy, strong muscles, and long-term metabolic health. Think of breakfast as the foundation of your day. The choices you make in the first meal often determine whether you feel energized and focused or sluggish and hungry just a few hours later. Here is a simple framework that nutrition experts often use to build a balanced and nourishing breakfast. Step 1. Reduce or eliminate added sugar. The first step is to avoid refined sugars and dessert-like foods at breakfast. This means limiting foods such as pastries, donuts, sweet muffins, sugary cereals, and heavily sweetened coffee drinks. These foods may taste satisfying in the moment, but they create rapid blood sugar spikes that can lead to fatigue, cravings, and metabolic stress. Instead of starting your morning with foods that behave like dessert, aim for foods that provide slow, steady energy. Whole foods naturally contain fiber and nutrients that help stabilize blood sugar and keep you feeling satisfied longer. Treat sugary breakfast foods as occasional treats rather than daily habits. Step 2. Include healthy natural fats. Healthy fats are an important part of a balanced breakfast, yet many people either avoid them entirely or replace them with highly processed oils. Natural sources of healthy fats include foods such as nuts and seeds, avocados, olives and olive oil, fatty fish, natural dairy products. These fats play an important role in supporting heart health, reducing inflammation, and helping the body absorb fat-soluble vitamins like vitamins A, D, E, and K. Healthy fats also help slow digestion, which contributes to more stable energy levels throughout the morning. Step 3. Focus on whole, natural foods. A simple rule that many nutrition experts use is this: if a food looks similar to how it appeared in nature, it's usually a good choice. Whole foods provide the vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and fiber your body needs to function properly. Examples of nutrient-dense whole foods that work well for breakfast include fresh fruits, vegetables, whole grains like oats or whole wheat, nuts and seeds, legumes such as beans or lentils, eggs, yogurt, or other natural dairy products, fish or lean proteins. When your breakfast includes foods like these, your body receives the nutrients it needs to support brain function, digestion, metabolism, and immune health. Step 4. Always include a source of protein. Perhaps the most important step is making sure that every breakfast includes protein. Protein supports muscle maintenance, helps regulate appetite, and stabilizes blood sugar. This is particularly important for adults over 60, when maintaining muscle mass becomes essential for mobility, balance, and independence. Good breakfast protein sources include foods such as eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, nuts and seeds, beans or lentils, fish, whole grains that contain protein. Even a moderate amount of protein can make a noticeable difference in how you feel throughout the morning. When you combine protein, healthy fats, and whole foods, you create a breakfast that nourishes your body instead of draining it. This type of meal helps maintain stable blood sugar, supports muscle health, improves focus, and provides lasting energy for the hours ahead. And while these principles may seem simple, they can have a profound impact on your health when practiced consistently. Which brings us to one final point that many people misunderstand when they hear about the Mediterranean diet and breakfast habits. Part 3. Important clarification about the Mediterranean breakfast. Before we finish, there's one important clarification that often confuses people when they hear about the Mediterranean diet. Many people imagine that if a food is commonly eaten in Mediterranean countries, it must automatically be healthy. But this is not always the case. If you travel to places like Italy, Spain, or Greece, you might notice that many people start their morning in a cafe with a quick breakfast that looks something like this: a small espresso, a pastry such as a croissant or sweet roll, and sometimes a glass of fresh orange juice. Because these foods are eaten in Mediterranean countries, some people assume that this is the traditional Mediterranean diet in action. But in reality, that cafe-style breakfast is not the traditional pattern that researchers refer to when they talk about the Mediterranean diet and its health benefits. The Mediterranean diet studied by scientists is based on traditional eating patterns that developed over generations, long before the modern food industry began producing large amounts of processed foods. In those traditional diets, people typically ate meals built around whole, natural foods such as vegetables, fruits, legumes, whole grains, nuts, olive oil, fish, and moderate amounts of dairy or eggs. These meals were simple, balanced, and rich in nutrients. Modern cafe breakfasts, especially those centered around sweet pastries and refined flour, are a much more recent cultural habit. While they may be enjoyable occasionally, they don't represent the dietary pattern that has been linked to the remarkable health and longevity often seen in Mediterranean populations. In other words, there is an important difference between a breakfast eaten in the Mediterranean region and a breakfast that follows the principles of the Mediterranean diet. Understanding this distinction can help you avoid one of the most common misconceptions about healthy eating. A truly Mediterranean-style breakfast focuses on whole foods, balanced nutrients, and natural ingredients, exactly the principles we discussed earlier. When you apply these ideas to your own morning routine, you give your body the support it needs to stay strong, energized, and resilient as you age. Final conclusion. The first meal of the day is far more powerful than most people realize. Breakfast is not just about filling your stomach before starting the day. It is the moment when your body receives its first metabolic signals, signals that influence your energy, your blood sugar, your appetite, and even your brain function for the next several hours. When breakfast is built around sugary pastries, fried foods, or highly processed products, it can quietly push your body into a cycle of blood sugar spikes, fatigue, and cravings. Over time, these habits can contribute to weight gain, metabolic problems, and declining health. But when you avoid these four common mistakes, something very different begins to happen. By reducing added sugar, choosing whole foods, incorporating healthy fats, and making sure your breakfast includes a good source of protein, you create a meal that truly supports your body. A balanced breakfast helps stabilize blood sugar, improves focus, supports muscle strength, and provides steady energy throughout the morning. These small choices, repeated day after day, can make a powerful difference in how you feel and how your body ages. Remember, healthy aging is not determined by one single meal or one single day. It is built through consistent habits that support your body over time. And breakfast is one of the easiest places to start. If you found this information helpful, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Ageless Vitality, where we share practical, science-based strategies to help you stay strong, energized, and independent as you age. And now we'd love to hear from you. What does your typical breakfast look like right now? Is there one change you're thinking about making after watching this? Share it in the comments below. Your experience may inspire someone else to start their day in a healthier way.